Welcome to the SCIF. I'm actually a few seconds early. I think this is a first. I've ever been early here, but welcome to the SCIF. It's actually 8 o'clock Central Time officially right now. I appreciate you joining me. I'm here by myself tonight. Got an interesting show. It's not going to be a long one tonight. We're going to try to keep this show a little bit shorter, but we have a lot to talk about. And we are the Green Beret Life. My name is Matt. We operate a 501c3. Basically, we do training of all different types, firearm related, pistol, rifle, shotgun. We also do situational awareness, survival, military preparedness for people going into the military, sort of like a prep. And there's a bunch of other situational awareness classes that please go visit our website. Our website is thegreenberetlife.com. If you have questions, not necessarily one of these channels, there's a lot of I see popping up now for both SF and for SEALs, getting prep to go to selection and whatnot. We're not necessarily that type of an organization, but if you do have questions, we would always be happy to answer. You can get a hold of us at thegreenberetlife@gmail.com, and we can go from there. So feel free to reach out if you have any classes you're interested in us possibly teaching. If you get a group of people together and we can do it, reach out and ask us. I can already see we're starting to have some connectivity issues. There's nothing we can do about this at this stage. I'm in northern rural Wisconsin right now. I'll be going down to Florida soon, and these issues will go away. But up here, we're based off of internet that's based off of cellular, and we've got antennas and everything else pushing towards the major antenna in town. But as you guys know who have been here a while, this has been a constant fight for us out here. So please bear with some of these interruptions. I can see right now we might get a here. I'll keep talking through it, and who knows if you guys are seeing it or not. But I apologize right now. I'm getting the black screen of death with the circle. I'll just keep moving forward. So tonight I do want to talk about a bunch of things. I want to talk about the Republican debate yesterday, which was a complete joke. Everything that you see right now is a establishment Murdoch program to try to hurt Trump in the general election. They're working with all of the other establishment rhinos and the Democrats to try to damage Trump, but it's not working because the Trump, and that's the problem. So there was a takedown of Russell Brand this week. British government, and they're involved with a lot of the tabloid newspapers, their own investigations to try to take him back. I think we understand why he was probably targeted, but that target then went on to Rumble. They're going after Rumble right now. They're going after Twitter right now. Some interesting updates with Twitter today. Elon Musk just canned the whole election integrity team. Good for him. He's up against a huge battle. There's a lot of people who are very, very critical of Elon Musk. I don't know if they quite understand the magnitude of money that's involved and the attack coming from organizations like the ADL. It's a bogus organization. You're seeing it right now mirrored with some of these smaller organizations, but still as evil and corrupt, going after Rumble, going after Rumble's advertisers in particular. That's what the ADL does as well. And little social media influencers left like this Jamie Namini or whatever her name is. She's involved with one of these organizations that basically targets Rumble, and everybody on Rumble is the mainstream narrative. So we have to understand what's going on here. We also have to play hardball. Any of these companies that submit to this pressure from these leftist organizations, such as Burger King and HelloFresh, they're the ones that have admitted and basically made a big to pull all advertising from Rumble, although many people said they've never seen Burger King advertise on Rumble in the place. Yeah, Burger King, because you're going to get the boycott. So we need organizations. Rumble refused to deplatform and demonetize Russell Brand at pressure from the British government, and we need to stand with Rumble. I would like to say anybody that's out there that hasn't created a Rumble account, please create a Rumble account. We're on 3 platforms right now. I want you to also support Odysee BitChute. Okay, so Rumble, Odysee, BitChute, Truth Social, Getter if you want, Frankly, and obviously Truth Social. Twitter's now X. Telegram. There's a bunch of them out there. But we need to start supporting organizations that are going to be the future. YouTube is not the way of the future, even though it's the largest and the easiest platform for all of us to get on and use. It is not a good platform. It's not a good organization. Google's a horrible organization. We got to start making our presence felt, because there's a hell of a lot of us out there, and the only thing that these companies have is their customer base. And if half the customer base, actually, when a few small people get loud, like I don't even remember this chick's name, but if the customer base pushes back, you see what happened with Bud Light. Right? We need to do that. You've seen what's happened with Target. We need to keep that pressure on. Do it to Burger King. The food at Burger King sucked. It used to be good a long time ago. The food at Burger King sucked. They moved out of this country a few years ago under the Obama administration because of all of the restrictions. They moved up to Canada. They bought Tim Hortons and moved their headquarters to Canada. So Burger King's not even an American company, folks. HelloFresh, I don't know anybody who uses that service. I do know that they've had some issues in the past. Don't know a whole lot about it, so I don't want to speak a whole lot about it. But virtue signaling, pulling off of Rumble, get rid of these clowns. Yeah, don't use them. Okay? So we've got a lot of companies out there we don't want to use now, but make the presence felt. Give them the Bud Light treatment. Give it to them. That's the power. They don't realize there's more of us than there are of them. And when we stand up, and I think we're just about to the point where we've just about had enough. So these companies, you want to play this game, you don't deserve to be in business, period. Don't eat at Burger King. Don't utilize HelloFresh. Stick with Rumble. Create a Rumble account. Encourage video content creators that you like to go over and mirror their platforms on Rumble, BitChute, and Odysee. Because at the end of the day, YouTube can swipe you off this platform at any time. At any time. So you hear us complain about it all the time and talk about it. Sounds like a broken record. I am doing that for so I'm here on YouTube to try to pull people over from YouTube over to Rumble, BitChute, Odysee. That's why I'm here. And that being said, if you do have content creators that are on these platforms, instead of watching them on YouTube, go over to Rumble and watch them, or one of the other platforms. Don't watch them on YouTube. There's plenty of people coming over. Do that, and that's I don't always do that, to be honest with you, because YouTube is so convenient to use, but now I'm trying to force myself to do it. Hey, I can watch this on Rumble. So go over and watch it on Rumble. We've all got a little bit of work to do, but we are the key to all of this, to all of it. Okay? I do want to talk about something that happened the day before yesterday. We have an out-of-control AG and Letitia James up in New York. And we've got what sounds like an absolutely corrupt judge. Letitia James, a big hit from the left against Trump is that Trump, which is hateful, and he's not a billionaire. This is all bullshit. It's all false. All of these things because they think that this is the way they can get to Trump. So this woman, Letitia James, ran for office with the idea that she was going to find something and keep going after Trump to try to take him down. That is a crime. Pure and simple, you're not allowed to do that. You can't say I'm running for office to try to set somebody up because we don't like their politics here in the state of New York, right? You can't do it. And this is what she's done. She's been able to get away with it. A lot of people are getting away with a lot of things right now. But what has happened here is she basically brought a suit against Trump. And this is, from what I understand, because this is really weird, this is so out of the ordinary, brings a lawsuit against Trump accusing him of fraud, saying that he's overvalued his properties. This judge, his name is uh, Arthur N. Gorin. Arthur N. Gorin. Okay, look, this guy looks like Ronald McDonald with gray hair and without the red nose. If you look him up, he's an activist judge. Obviously, allegedly, he said some things in the past about how he can't stand Trump, but this shouldn't be allowed. If you make public statements how you can't stand Trump, or if you have any conflict of interest whatsoever within the legal system, you must be taken out of that. You must recuse yourself. You must be replaced with somebody who can be impartial. The law is supposed to be impartial. And as we're seeing in these places like New York and Washington, D.C., the law is not impartial. So what did this guy do? Here's what he did. He basically took everything that Letitia James said and said, "Oh, we don't need a trial. I agree with all of it." And he basically ordered the dissolution of the whole Trump organization. And he also stated, now for those that don't know, Trump has a huge property called Mar-a-Lago, which is down in West Palm Beach. And Mar-a-Lago is roughly 20 acres. It stems from the Atlantic Ocean to the Intercoastal Waterway. It's water on one side, water on the other. If I remember correctly, it was originally owned by the Post family, Post cereals out of Battle Creek, Michigan, right? And there was a big country club there, and it was one of these old hoity-toity country clubs that didn't allow minorities. One of the motivating factors in Trump for purchasing this country club was, and it's his home and everything down there, but one of his motivating factors was to open it up to everybody. But remember, Trump is the racist, according to the left, right? Their projection knows no bounds. He got major pushback from all of the leftist angles, including West Palm Beach, right? Well, Trump did that years and years and years ago, okay? But they want you to believe Trump is the racist, okay? So anyways, this judge, Engoron, right, has stated that Mar-a-Lago, now that's some of the most expensive pieces of real estate in the world, okay, right there. And he wants you to believe 20 acres is worth $18 million. Now, a mansion on the water in that part of town starts at about, on a half an acre to an acre, starts at about $40 million, folks. So 20 acres with all of that on it, and it's a business that generates $25 million a year, right? They want you to believe is worth $18 million. So basically, he said all of the Trump properties, I agree. He's just a real estate expert now, this judge, which he's not. This is fraud. They overvalued. Never mind that the banks have to verify the value of the property, right? And banks doing huge multi-billion-dollar deals aren't real persnickety when it comes to verifying the value of properties that are put up or properties that they're funding, right? All bullshit. Okay. There's no way this can stand. I don't see where it goes from here, though, but it's just one more illustration of an absolutely corrupt, and I mean, they're not even hiding it, an absolutely corrupt legal system in this country, that there is not one standard of justice. America has been turned on its head. We're supposed to be the bastion of freedom and liberty for the rest of the world to see. This is making America, it's causing so much damage to our country that you don't even know. You don't even realize the long-term damage. Anytime we try to put ourselves up as the example, they will use things like this against us. This was the place people used to go to get away from that kind of nonsense in, some of these tin pot dictatorships all across the world, right? And now we are one of these tin pot dictatorships here in this country. And as far as me being an American, and I know you guys listening to this show, that should piss all of you off. It should piss all of you off. And what do we do about it? Well, we keep the course. Okay, we keep the course. Okay, you're seeing, and I know this is hard to believe because we've been dealt so many L's, right? We are seeing the collapse of this corrupt civilization. The reason why they're not even trying to hide this anymore is they're desperate. They are desperate to hold on to power. I can see we've got some comments from Johnny Cat R58. Too many activist judges these days? Absolutely. Hillary didn't see a single day in court, let alone jail. We need to make changes. You are absolutely right, Johnny Cat. And right now they're scared, and you're seeing it in the mainstream media. You're seeing discussions that I know General Milley has been going around talking to people, saying he's fearing for the fact that if Trump gets back into power, that he's going to come after him. You're damn right he better come after you. Communicating with the Chinese behind Trump's back, that is 100% treason. And all of these people, we cannot. Trump let bygones be bygones the first time he was in, right? We cannot. We expect justice to be upheld. These people that have trashed our rights, these people that are trashing Donald Trump and his families, this judge is also going after the children and his attorneys, by the way. So all of these people that have pushed these bogus lawsuits forward, that have basically crumpled up our Constitution and stepped all over it, there needs to be recourse for this, or we can't move forward. Nobody trusts any of this. Nobody trusts our legal system until we fix it. And the only way you can fix it is by serving out the justice. And the only way we're going to get there is to get Donald Trump back in office. We can't play by their games. They're going to push. They're going to push. There's people out there saying they're going to use these mass waves of migrants to push riots. They're going to use Antifa. They're going to bring Antifa back and push riots if they don't get their way. They want to push this country to a brink. We do not play by their rules. We don't give them what they want. We keep on keeping on. We need to flood, absolutely flood the voting regs. People that don't the polls. People that don't vote, you need to get your ass out there and vote. People that are patriots of this country, I do not care. You may not have to like everything about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is our last chance. And I'm just being frank with this. He is our last chance, or we're going to lose this country. Johnny, I don't see Trump doing much of anything. The system is too corrupt. When you look at it right now, Johnny, it's easy to see that. And I don't blame you for having that view. I truly believe this is much, much bigger than just Trump. I believe Trump, I think there's a whole crew of people behind Trump that we don't see. I mean, look at it this way. If you want me to really sound like I'm going out on a limb, I think Robert Kennedy Jr. is also part of these people that are working with this same group. I'm going to call them the white hat deep state, for lack of a better term. Okay? If they really wanted, I mean, if there wasn't an organization behind all of this, how hard would it be, instead of going after with lawsuits and everything else, just to do what they've always done? Look at John F. Kennedy. Look at Robert Kennedy. Look at what they tried to do with Reagan. Look at all of this, right? And this has been mentioned. Lots of people have been mentioning this, right? Dan Bongino is basically going out there and saying Trump is in danger. Other people have said it. Came up on the Megyn Kelly show. It's been brought up by Tucker Carlson. So when you say you don't see Trump having the guts to do, have you watched the pressure Trump's been under the last 7 years? I think Trump has more guts than most people. If you understand what they've done to this man, and he still fights back. What other politician has pushed back like Donald Trump? None. There's been none. There's been no other politician in recent history that I can think of that has had to endure the amount of incoming as Donald Trump. Okay, so when you say not having the guts, that's I go a little bit off the side with that one, Johnny Cat. When I said everybody's entitled to their own opinion, I'm not here to try to force my opinion. I'm here to give my opinion as well, and you can take that for what it's worth. My opinion is my opinion, based on my experience and how I have experienced and viewed things. But unless he's going to round up Democrats and execute them for treason, he doesn't have the guts. Well, when we start talking about executing people, I don't know if we can go that far. I think people need to be thrown in jail. When you start talking about executing people, do you think the majority of the country would be fine with that? Even our side, the Patriot side, do you think they'd be fine with that? I don't think so. This is a different time, different place. We do have people that have definitely committed treason for sure. Shit, we don't put people to death that do the most horrendous crimes anymore in this country. But I think you start talking about that, that's going to lose us. When you start talking about things like this, it's the support from the people, because people don't have the stomach to have any of that happen. We definitely need to punish people, though, to the fullest extent of the law, and that's where we need to go. And if people do start getting rounded up and charged and convicted and going to jail, that's I think that's what people want. That's what people want to see. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I blame my body has been broken. This country. No, Johnny, I hear you. I'm assuming you were in the military, and I hear you 100%. I hear you 100%. That how you feel on this, but you also have to understand what where the majority of the country is at, and and I feel for every veteran out there. And here's what I always say, because the way I look at what happened and how we prosecuted these wars, I am proud of every bit of service that I've had, and I'm proud of every bit of service that other veterans had in the war on terror. Even though I think it's come to pass that a lot of this was bullshit. Why did we have to be in Afghanistan for 20 some years, right? Why did we have to be? Why did we go to the first place? Now, admittedly said, there's a lot of bad in Iraq, okay, and I don't regret 1 ounce of service. But what did we get out of all of this? What did we get from them? I mean, we've got a bunch of dead patriots. We got a bunch of wounded patriots, right? The way we pulled out of Afghanistan was an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace. People need to pay for that, I can tell you. We left Americans behind. We left our service dogs behind. We had the most advanced airport in the world that was an hour away from where China makes all their nuclear weapons, and we just handed all of that over, all of that equipment, flooded this country with a bunch of Afghans that we have no idea who the hell they are. And we know they were keeping them at places like Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, and we know that they were committing crimes there that were being covered up by the media. Jab mandates, mask mandates, cancel culture. You're right, man. This is not the country that we fought for. You are 100% correct, and this is why we got to fix it any way we can. Johnny. I hear you 100%, man. I hear you. I feel the frustration. I think millions upon millions of us feel this frustration. It is one of those things. Johnny Cat, can you? We're going to switch from YouTube. Can you come over and join the conversation over at Rumble? Please let me know if you can. We are the Green Beret Life over there, because there's things I want to talk about that YouTube won't let me talk about, and I would like to pull over there if I could, because if we're going to get into some of that, we definitely need to be able to speak freely, and I can't speak freely on YouTube. I'll be on here for a little while longer before we go over, but there's some stuff I do want to talk about in the show that YouTube won't allow us to talk about. They'll start with these damn strikes against us, and then go and hit me over and over and over again. Not that I'm afraid to get a strike from YouTube. I've gotten multiple strikes. Chris and I have gotten multiple strikes here on YouTube. So, but I do want to talk about what they're talking about, dissolving the Trump organization without a trial or anything else. There's no way legally this can stand. I watched Trump's speech to the United Auto Workers, which I thought was one of his best speeches. Cool, Johnny. Let's see if you can get on Rumble. I watched the speech, and I thought it was excellent. I thought, most politicians don't. They can go and talk about the auto industry. They can go and talk about all of this and that and the other thing. Very few people running our government today have real life experience, especially when it comes to things like business and even foreign relations and things like this. Most of these people that we're putting in office today are lawyers and academics. That's what we're putting in office. Okay. And not saying that you can't get life experience as a lawyer or an academic. We have some politicians like Joe Biden. He's really never had a real job in his life. We've got a lot of politicians like that, a lot of them. Okay. These people don't understand anything. Trump went out to the UAW and spoke there, basically talking about what they're trying to do to the auto industry, and it was an excellent speech. There was some humor to it, and it's amazing when you see everything that they're doing to this man and his family and those around him, that he's able to keep uh, keep the steady head that he does. He basically talked about the the push for electric vehicles that nobody wants. This is a World Economic Forum pushed deal. You've heard Chris and I talk about this all the time. Uh, it's a play to destroy the United States energy industry, because if we destroy the energy industry and they tank our economy and run up our debt all at the same time, and we've put over roughly 115 billion dollars over in Ukraine. I mean, how can you do that? We're 33 trillion dollars in debt, right? So this is the whole play. Run up our debt, destroy our industries, destroy our energy industry, destroy agriculture, destroy small business. That's what it's all about. If you've got your eyes halfway open, and I say halfway open because it's not hard to see, this is all being done. And not only that, they're tearing the heart out of our country. They're letting people in that we don't know who the hell they are by the millions. You are expected to pay for the welfare and the care of these people by the millions that are being let into this country, right? And we don't have the money to take care of it. And these people have no connection to our country or anything else. We're not vetting them. Foreign nations could be putting people in here that mean us harm on purpose, and we're distributing them throughout the whole country, right? We've got that going on to destroy the American culture, right? We have massive attacks on our legal system, as we can see. If they can look, you see them doing it to Trump, that means they can do it to you. Anything they want to do, they can do. You're seeing it in these big cities now. The Constitution does not apply. We've got, and I say this all the time, but we've got a guy down in Austin, Texas, who was a military dude who was working Uber in his part time, drove a guy downtown Austin when the BLM riots were going on. A guy points an AK at him for no reason, just because he's driving down the road. He pulls out his pistol and shoots the guy with the AK and kills him. He's sitting in jail for murder. Constitution doesn't apply. None of these big cities, the Constitution applies, right? So you see that going on. And what's the Republican Party doing? They're running these goofy debates when nobody's within 50 points of Donald Trump. Not one person. Okay, Johnny, I appreciate you trying. I'll stay on here for as long as I can, and we'll switch over when we're going to talk about something I can't talk on here. But I appreciate you trying to make the Rumble account. So the Republican Party is a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. We've been sort of conditioned, and I fell into this for years. We've been conditioned to think red, blue, we hate each other, right? And we need to hate each other because we're just not compatible with either side. And you've seen the Democrat Party sort of be invaded by the Marxist movement. Anybody who was different, they ran out of the party. You don't have to look much farther than see what they did to Joe Lieberman. Ran him right out of the party, and many more like Joe Lieberman. Joe Lieberman just happened to be one of the most high-profile guys they ran out of the party. But if you look at RFK Jr., right? RFK Jr. is a Democrat, but they want nothing to do with him. They're threatening to steal his delegates if he runs against Biden in the primaries. So, yeah, you're 100% right, Johnny. They're both. They're evil, and Republicans are stupid. Republicans have joined. If you're looking at the attacks going at Trump right now, these attacks wouldn't be happening if the Republicans stood up for him. But the dirty little secret is 75 to 80% of the Republicans agree with the Democrats and they want Trump gone because the Republican Party, the GOP, is run by the donor class. It's not by you and me donating our money. We have WinRed contact us and say, please take our poll on who you want to be president, right? And then, oh, before you can take the poll, can you donate any amount of money? So if you donate that money because you want to donate that money to a particular candidate, we saw in the 2022 elections, that money was taken from the candidate we pushed, right? Or were pushing for, and it was given to some rhino scumbag piece of garbage like Lisa Murkowski up in Alaska against a based Republican, running against another based Republican in some ranked choice voting nonsense they put up to keep Lisa Murkowski in power because she's desperately unpopular up there. And it was also a way to keep other Republicans from winning, such as oh boy, my brain just former VP candidate. My brain's not working right now, but she was running for Congress. So the whole thing is an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess. And Republicans right now are getting ready to fund everything the Democrats want because they're so scared of having a shutdown, right? And you have a few people that are fighting like hell. A few people that are fighting like hell, Matt Gaetz being most notable. Matt Gaetz every day. In fact, there was a plot against Matt Gaetz here recently. There was an organization called Act Blue, and what they were doing is try to hide their identity. And they were approaching big conservative social media personalities such as DC Drano and some of the other big ones that were out there, and were trying to give them money to go after Matt Gaetz, pretending like it was conservatives asking them and putting up the money for him. Well, these guys didn't fall for it, and they started digging in. Who the hell is this person talking like this, right? Going back, because Matt Gaetz right now is throwing a monkey wrench into everything the Republicans are trying to do, which is basically fund the government for Joe Biden. Right now, they could take funding away from the DOJ and the FBI, which have proven themselves to be corrupt as all get out. They could take that money away from them right now, and they will not do it. The House holds the purse. They will not do it. So they're going to fund all of this. They're going to fund a budget that basically brings in $2 trillion in debt by the time the year's done. Okay, basically, so they'll fund a $7 trillion budget, right? And we have a $5 trillion economy. That leaves us with a $2 trillion tab that we still have to pay. And they're just running the debt up, doing nothing about getting rid of it. And I said this before the midterms, I said this before the 2020 election, all of it. You need to primary every one of these frickin' rhinos out of office. That requires going and doing a little bit of homework to see who your representative is and what they've done, right? You have to. We have a handful of people. So we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't want to get rid of the fighters, but we want to get rid of the turds who are attacking the fighters from within the Republican Party. And right now, if the Republican Party doesn't fix itself, I mean, running this debate was so silly. It was so silly. Let's see, we have SVD Cleveland. Even if we can get Trump back in office, things aren't going to get better. The powers that be will burn this country to the ground. The tactics they employed over his first term will look like nothing. Yeah, but here's my retort to that. Okay, we had a Republican House and we had a Republican Senate. The Republican House was run by who? Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan hated Trump. They manipulated. I will never believe anything other than this. They manipulated a loss in the midterms by retiring 40 some Republicans said they were retiring. So when you retire 40 some incumbents, you give up your leadership because incumbents are what get reelected, right? They did that to expose Trump to impeachment. And you're going to say, why would they do that? Because of the donors. Look at Darrell Issa. Darrell Issa retired in 2018 and came back in 2020 from California, Darrell Issa. If that doesn't tell you right there, so that's part of the problem. But this is why we've got to get these Republicans out of here. Here's another issue. Okay, Trump surrounded him because he knew nobody in Washington D.C. He surrounded himself with people that were dishonest and were there to try to control Trump. He picked the wrong VP from the very beginning. It came down to Newt Gingrich or Mike Pence, and he chose Mike Pence as sort of an olive branch, just like Reagan chose Bush, because Reagan and Bush hated each other, as an olive branch to the establishment. That got him nowhere. He then took Mitch McConnell's wife and put her on his cabinet, Elaine Chao. It got him nowhere. The people that run the Republican Party are the billionaire donor class. They're the people who build their factories in China. They're the people that build weapons that we sell all over the world. They're people that run the weapons procurement program going into the military. They're the people that are pushing for these foreign wars. The two big things that Trump did that pissed all of these people off and exposed who they were going after China, okay, and companies that were doing business with China instead of doing business back here, and shutting down the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is a racket and a half. You look at, why did we leave all of that equipment in Afghanistan? Of course, so they'd have to make new stuff that we could give to Ukraine. And who's paying for that? You and me and the rest of the taxpayers. So Trump is not going in this next time with no support. Trump is going in this next time with people he can trust. Okay? He had people he could trust last time, a handful of them. But I saw Mark Esper on CNN here talking like a radical Democrat. What a freaking disaster he was. Look at Kelly, look at Esper, look at Mattis, look at Milley. Look at these guys. These guys were plants, absolute plants. But some of the advantages of what happened is, and here's the sad thing. If you are right, and I'm not saying you're 100% wrong, SVD Cleveland, I think you are, in my opinion, but I'm not saying you're 100% wrong. If you are right, and he's not able to do anything, we lose the country. Trump, absolutely, Johnny, you're 100% right. Trump needs to surround himself with better people, or we're going to lose the country. And I truly, the way I see it, if somebody, you know how you have people out there, and I'm going to tell you right now, Vivek Ramaswamy says all the right things. But when you dig into his past and you see, how did such a young guy generate so much money? How was he able to raise so much money and be involved in the pharmaceutical industry? And you're like, holy shit. I mean, saying the right things, but can you trust him, right? Can you trust him? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I can't trust him now. And he says the right things, but saying the right things doesn't make people trust you. You know what vets people? When they take incoming. And I'm going to use Matt Gaetz as an example. They went after Matt Gaetz's dad and tried to shake him down. And they were ex-FBI agents. Do not tell me this was not a deep state internal, right, hit on Matt Gaetz. They went after his dad and try to extort a ton of money for him. And then they went after Matt Gaetz and try to say he was involved in human trafficking. And then he was non-touchable at the time. I remember the night that the media was running with all of these allegations against Matt Gaetz, right? Tucker Carlson was afraid because he had him on the air and was afraid to talk to him. You could see. It's like, what the hell? Do I have somebody who's involved in And then it comes out, it's all bullshit. Dudes are going to jail. Of course, the mainstream media isn't covering any of that, right? It was all bullshit. Okay. And then you see, these attacks like I was talking about yesterday with Act Blue. These are attacks going after somebody that they are trying to take down. He is pissing off the right people and taking the incoming. Trump has done the same exact thing. The people who are taking the incoming, that are standing up for us, our Constitution, our country, our freedom are pretty vetted, if you ask me. Okay? Nobody on that stage there yesterday, in that Republican stage, you could say that about. Not one of them. Not one of those individuals. Not one of them. In fact, I think the majority of them are there as part of the GOP establishment to cause as much harm to Trump before the general election. If you don't believe me, listen to Chris Christie speak. Listen to Chris Christie speak. He says nothing except repeat left-wing talking points. He said on the stage yesterday that Trump only built 33 miles of border wall. That's a left-wing argument. And you know how they're getting the 33 miles? Because they're not counting the 450 miles of dilapidated wall that wasn't keeping anybody out from anything, that he had to rebuild, right? So there's where they get that number, and this is what they do. So somebody that gets on there and acts that dishonest, right? You can't trust that individual as far as you can throw them. And I can tell you right now, I don't think Lou Ferrigno could throw Chris Christie very far, because I'm the over-under on him, he's about 450, 500 pounds, right? So he made this goofy line calling Donald Trump Donald Duck. And this is the Murdochs pushing this, right? The Murdochs are pushing this stupid, stupid Republican primary when not one of those people up there has a snowball chance in hell. Nobody likes Nikki Haley. Everybody knows she's deep state. She gets up there and cheerleads for sending more money to Ukraine. Chris Christie gets up there and cheerleads more money to Ukraine. Ron DeSantis tries to walk around it saying he's not talking about supporting or not supporting, he's pretty much supporting Ukraine, but he wants NATO to pay their fair share, right? Instead of stopping this stupid frickin' war that have left, some estimates are saying 450,000 Ukrainians are dead and 150,000 Russians. For what? This is complete bullshit. So we can go down the list. You got a guy, a wealthy businessman that's the governor of North Dakota that nobody knows, right? Somebody swears that he was a former actor and was on that movie American Pie, but I don't know if it's the same guy. You got to take a closer look, right? And then who else did we have up there? Oh, Mike Pence. Mike Pence is so cringe when he talks. No chance whatsoever of ever getting elected to anything again. Okay? Not one person on that stage. I would say Vivek Ramaswamy, if he's legit, may have a future in the Republican Party. Nobody else up there has a snowball's chance in hell of having any future in politics in this country, right? So this is nothing but a distraction. You have Ronna McDaniel, who nobody voted for, by the way. Nobody wanted Ronna McDaniel to be head of the RNC. More people wanted either Mike Lindell or Harmeet Dillon. But we don't get to vote on that. That's all internal from the Republican Party. They want Mitt Romney's niece to run the RNC. This is why the GOP is a fucking joke. It's a joke. That young Indian dude is backed by, yeah, exactly, Johnny. And that's there's been a lot of ties to him in the WEF, and this is why I made the point before. Can we trust this guy? I don't think we can. I don't think we can. I like what he says. I like what he says all the right things, but something's off. And how was he able to generate? He was a millionaire before he got out of all of his school, a self-made millionaire before he was through law school, in between undergrad and law school, right? I mean, he was generating hundreds of millions of dollars in startup capital for these corporations that he was founding that it was tied to the pharmaceutical industry. How does that doesn't pass the sniff test with me? Okay, right there. And I'm not saying it's not possible. I just don't know, but I have a really bad feeling, like Johnny Cat was talking about. Let me see if we got any comments on Rumble and Odysee. I have to do this on my phone, and it usually is a major league pain in the ass because I don't get it freezes. So I would like to see if that comes in chat. I'm not seeing any comments. If you guys are chatting out there, keep sending them. I might not just be seeing them. I'm going to go check Odysee real quick as well while we do this. I just don't want to miss people. If somebody's making comments and if somebody's wanting to get involved, I want you involved, because we're all patriots here, and we all have input into this, and we all need to get our ideas out there, because some of these platforms are restricting everything. We need to be able to speak to each other openly. SVD Cleveland, what's going to happen if we reelect Trump is still a better alternative than to continue on our current trajectory. That I definitely agree. We have no choice. Yeah, we've got to get Trump in there. We've got to get Trump in there and support him and see where it goes, right? Because we got to save our country. And Ron DeSantis ain't going to save the country, right? Ron DeSantis is bought and paid for by the establishment, the deep state, which really hurt, because I thought he was the future. We have some fighters out there. Kerry Lake is a fighter. In fact, there's something going on in Arizona right now that is baffling everybody. Katie Hobbs steps down as governor, and then like the fourth person in line who's a Republican has stepped in as governor, and we don't know why. We have no idea why. If anybody has an answer to that out there, please, because we don't know. That's one of the other things that we were looking at today. I don't see any comments yet in Odysee either. So I don't know what's going on with that. Everything's upside down. I do know that. Trump is kind of suspicious after he banned the bump. Yeah, the bump stock here, and I'm not making excuses, because that was stupid. Okay, the bump stock was stupid, but we don't know. We all suspect. Chris and I have talked about it a couple times on here. What happened in Las Vegas? Okay, what you were told, I'm pretty sure, is not what happened. Okay, everything. If you know anything about guns, he's shooting 500 yards out, and he's using bump stocks. The bullshit. There was massive calls coming from the Republican side too, the Rhino Republican side, for Trump to do something. And what they really wanted were these intensified we already get background checks, but these universal background checks and closing the gun show loophole. That means you can't give your kid a gun without going through the government first. Why do they require you to go through the government first to do that? Right? Why? Because they're not supposed to be, but we know there's something going on with record keeping, right? So I think Trump got advice from the NRA. Now, you've heard me talk about the NRA too. The NRA is corrupt as shit, right? You've got this guy, Wayne LaPierre, who's been there forever. He's a complete disaster. And really, you're starting to see a lot of corruption in that organization, but we need the NRA. The GOA seems to be really solid. If you want to donate to one, the GOA is probably a good one to go to, but we need the NRA, because there's millions of people that are part of the NRA. We need to fix the NRA. But what happened was Trump, trying to avoid some of these more draconian issues, took advice from the NRA and pushed this stupid bump stock rule, which I don't agree with. You don't give an inch on gun stuff. You don't, right? Not only that, it gave ATF power to class. You know what? It started us down that road. And one of the things that must happen is the ATF needs to be no more. These agencies, I think the ATF is so corrupt, you can't have it anymore. Absolutely. The FBI, we can go on and on. Most of these three-letter agencies are too corrupt to repair, and they need to go. They need to go. This is part of taking down the deep state. We've built this administrative state. These people are unelected. The ATF are not elected. These people are making law. They have no constitutional right to make law whatsoever. I am 100% with you guys with that. No right whatsoever to make law, and it needs to go. The only thing keeping this country free-ish is our Second Amendment. And you've heard that before. The Second Amendment is the first. The second is first. It absolutely is, because without the second, we'll lose everything. We do not budge on our guns. And I ain't going to defend Trump on the bump stock thing. I can tell you what he tried to do and what he was thinking. No way. Bump stocks are stupid. They're unnecessary. But you do not give an inch on our Second Amendment. No way, no how, not forgivable. ATF should not be a store, not government agency. Change my mind. Oh yeah, yeah. ATF should not be a store. Not government agent. Yeah, it should not be a government agency for sure. I don't know what you mean by a store, Johnny. Um, the ATF is a freaking disaster, absolute disaster. Showing up at people's homes now that purchased a trigger system that was legal, that all of a sudden they deemed is not legal. This is insane. It's absolutely insane. Reclassifying what a pistol is, trying to make millions of people a felon, right? This is not government for and by the people, right? It's not even working in good faith. They're pushing a political agenda and they're stomping on our constitutional rights, and it's happening everywhere. And this more than anything, this is what I always say. If you are, I hate putting, pitching Americans against one another. That's what all this race stuff's all about. That's what all this gender stuff is all about. It's all about pitting Americans against one another and dividing people into groups and basically saying you're a victim, and you're a victim because of your fellow American over there, right? We're going to get them for you because you're the victim and they've been doing this to you, right? This is what they need to do. This is what Marxists need to do, to divide us, because together they stand no chance. Okay. And this is why I always say we look at each other as red and blue, and we got to get away from that. And I've been guilty of that, right? We've got to get away from that. You look at it this way: if you believe in the country, the Constitution, and the way the country was founded by our forefathers, okay, we can have disagreements on so many other things, but you're a patriot, and we should look at each other as allies, because what the other side really doesn't want is us to have our Constitution. Okay, that's really, because that will give them unfettered power over us. Okay, so we should be looking at each other and say, hey, we can work out this other stuff, and there's plenty of room to have diversity of thought. Okay, but at first and foremost, you should believe in this country and the way it was founded by the forefathers, and you should believe in the Constitution, and there is no exception for any of that. If you are an individual that believes that we need to change our country from the from the way it was founded, if we need to change the Constitution, right? If you don't believe in America and the way it was founded, you are not anybody that we can. There's no middle ground with that individual. Okay, but I truly believe our country is 70%, okay, people who believe in the Constitution and the way it was founded, once people get all the information. And then we're going to have a small percentage of people that are radicals that want to turn our country into China. And there is no middle ground with someone who wants to turn our country into China. And unfortunately, we have so many of these people in power today. And I heard something the other day. I heard that Elizabeth Warren, when she first got into government, she was worth nothing. She's now worth something like $127 million. An investigation needs to be, because you're looking and seeing this across the board. How does a politician generate that kind of wealth? It's fraud. It is fraud, and they need to be investigated. You talk about people needing to go to jail. Nancy Pelosi, that whole scam. How much money she's worth. The Obamas, the Bidens. Look at all of it. The reason why they're struggling so hard to protect the Bidens is because he is exposing the grift. He's exposed it. That's why it's a talking point they're putting out on no evidence, and there's mountains of evidence, no evidence whatsoever, going on these long speeches saying that. They're protecting themselves, folks. They are protecting themselves. And let me tell you, all of the digging into Trump's background, all the getting his tax returns, all of the probing of his businesses, all of the things that they've done shows that he's one of the cleanest businessmen in the world, right? And B, it's exposing them to the same things. And this is what Trump really must do. He must use everything they used against him on them. There is no middle ground with these people. None. These are the Marxists that are trying to destroy our country from within. This Milley is a freaking disaster. He is an absolute disaster. Lloyd Austin is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And so were General McChrystal, Stanley McChrystal. who talked about using a color operation on the United States election public. That we're going to run a color operation, shit we do overseas, on Americans in the upcoming election. That was 2020. He was out there saying things like that. This just shows the rot that's in our military right now. Absolute rot. Boy, like my grandma said, a good communist is. You know, I think when you look back in the way, look at the time of John F. Kennedy, the communists were looked at as what they were. Okay, the most evil, corrupt, deadly form of governance known in the history of man. There's not another political affiliation that has killed more people than communism, Marxism, communism. Not one. Not one. And you look to the north and look up into Canada. You got a guy that we don't know who Sonny is. You know what I'm saying when I say that. I'm on YouTube. I'm trying to stay on here as long as I can. They just had a Nazi, a 98-year-old Nazi that they hailed as a hero and all cheered in their parliament for a few days ago because he was fighting Russia, right? He was a Ukrainian fighting Russia. Well, now this was under Stalin, but the Russians were our ally fighting the Nazis. So if he was fighting Russia, what the hell do you think he was in World War II? He was a Nazi. And now it's starting to come out how many Nazis there really were in Ukraine right now. You know, this trans individual that's over there, their spokesperson that got fired here recently, was caught talking to scammers, right? Russian scammers. And she was talking, we know there's Nazis here. Yeah, we try to we downplay that so people, the whole world doesn't see that we have Nazis and da-da-da-da-da. It's not a secret. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. The Azov battalion are Nazis. It's in their symbol. It's in their symbol. So up there, and there's something with cocaine on a plane. I didn't even look into that story. Trudeau's plane, bunch of cocaine on it. I just saw something like that. I don't know if it's true. I don't know any of that, but I saw it. But there's lots of talk about Trudeau stepping down. I'm like, he ain't gonna step down. There's no freaking way this guy's gonna step down. He is a bought and paid for shill, and there's no way this guy's gonna step down, right? But it just highlights how stupid they think their public is by basically praising a Nazi on the parliament floor and thought they were going to get away with it. Now they're all coming back and apologizing and saying, don't make any political hay over this. What? You've been calling our side Nazis when you're the Nazis. Your background, that one of the main women up there, I forget her name off the top of my head, but her grandfather was supposedly a Nazi, allegedly, right? The ideology, okay, that they espouse up there is very closely reminiscent to that Nazi ideology, okay, and they're going to try to convince everybody that the other side is. Our side hates Nazis, always has. That's a socialist party. I'm on territory here that could probably get me in trouble on YouTube right now, but you see them up there bringing a Nazi on the parliament floor and cheering for him like a bunch of seals, right? It's stupid, right? Miley is absolutely a traitor, absolutely a traitor. The guy has been an absolute joke. It's so much. I don't know how Obama got rid of damn near 1,000. Somebody correct me. It could even be more flag ranking officers. Okay. I think that was the purge at that time. That's where the good officers were just completely boop, gone. You're not going to do what I want you to push. You're gone. The rest are yes men. We've all seen it. I know Johnny Katz, ex-military. I'm assuming you are too, SVD Cleveland. I absolutely. Anybody who's been in the military has seen some leadership, like high up leadership, and that made you scratch your head. Not all of it. There's been some good guys too, but you see this leadership and you're like, what the hell? Or it's like, who the hell is this guy? Right? And it's so much of it. If you see what's being brought in front of this committee that Matt Gaetz is on, uh, these Air Force generals they're bringing on, and they're an absolute disaster. It's completely different culture and thinking from anybody that's been in the military over the last 30, 40, 50 years, right? So different in thinking because the military wasn't supposed to be political at all. That's the deal. The military was there to keep this country safe. It was not supposed to be political in any way, shape, or form. And you're supposed to be patriotic for this country. And now you're seeing this mess that is just, and it's designed. And I've said this before, people think I'm crazy when I say this. People think I'm nuts, okay? They have intentionally depleted patriots out of our military. They've gotten them out. And how did they do that? Well, the morale is shit. The leadership is shit. They've eliminated or at least reduced standards in almost every unit, right? In order to get people in that aren't supposed to be in. They've allowed people that are mentally ill in. They've allowed just an absolute disgrace of what's going on. They rip us out of Afghanistan like we're in retreat, right? And it's all of these things that the military has done. And then you add all of the other stuff that I'm going to say, if you know what I'm talking about, okay? Because we're on YouTube. This stuff right here, okay, was designed to purge the military of patriots. That's what it was designed to do. So now you're hearing all of these stories, lowest retention ever, never missed our recruiting goals by this much in the history, the whole 9 yards. Do you know what I fear they're going to do? These illegals, they're going to shove them in the military and let them go some soft skill job for 2 years and get them out. They come out citizens and can vote. And people will go, well, they served their time. Yeah, that's great. That will be the nail in the coffin of our military if they do that. People that I have no problem somebody coming from a foreign country that wants to be an American and a patriot, I'm going to serve. I'm going to sign up people like that. And they went and deployed in combat and combat arms and all sorts of stuff, right? I have no problem because that person has shown an allegiance to our country and a willingness where they weren't forced to do that, right? And they wanted to be an American. I have no problem with that. I have a huge problem when you bring in people that have no connection to this country at all, that are looking for handouts, which they're getting, that are destroying all the hotels that they're being put up in, that are committing crimes all across this country that are being covered up, that have no respect for our laws or anything else, right? Jamming those people in the military with no connection to our country, no connection to what our country stands for or means or how it was founded or any of that, right? And then they come out with all the rights that all the rest of us have. That's a real problem. And if they do that, they're going to tear the heart out of the military. We must never, ever, ever, ever allow them to do this. And we must educate people because you're going to have so many people out there. Well, if they do their time in the military, they should get, everything that's coming to them. No, that is an end run around getting them citizenship so they can vote. They have to import people to keep the Democrats and the Marxists in power. So I had high hopes for Millie since he was Special Forces. Oh yeah. I spent any time around Special Forces. I mean, good officers are hard to cut. They're there. There are definitely good, and I ain't gonna shit on every officer, but there are a lot that you look at and you are just scratching your head and you're like, are you kidding me? This guy is an SF dude? What? As they capitulate to the big army and they throw their dudes under the bus, and it just on and on. The leadership, the team level leadership in SF was really good in my experience, really good. And the company level leadership up to sergeant, well, it started going wrong. Okay, but there were still some really good guys there in leadership positions. We still had some really good sergeant majors, and we had some turds too, but we still had some really good sergeant majors, and we still had some good company commanders and things like that. I hate saying they were all that way, but there were so many that were bad, that were just, they had no business being there. They were not unconventional warriors. They were not looking out for their dudes, and it was an absolute disaster. I see Millie as just being the epitome of that, being the epitome of the yes man, which is not what you're supposed to be in SF. Well, in any military unit. I'm not even going to say SF. I'm saying in any military unit, your first responsibility is to your dudes, right? That the people that are underneath you is your number one responsibility. You are an umbrella from unjust command from above, and if you have to take those arrows, you have to take those arrows. We did have a sergeant major like that who took those arrows, and he wasn't afraid to tell people to go shove it where the sun didn't shine, and they got rid of him. Those are leaders, man, and we do have some. And this is why I encourage so many people get upset and they say, well, I'm not joining under this administration. I get the frustration. But right now, more than ever, we need good people to join and go into SF and these combat arms units. We need good patriots there, because if we have that void, what are they going to fill it with? They're going to fill it with shit. They're going to fill it with shit that'll ruin it from within. And that's what their whole goal is. And we can't allow it, because it is the only institution that has not been totally corrupted. Only institution that hasn't been totally corrupted. Did you read the story about 90-something year? Oh, yeah. The Korean War veteran getting kicked out to make way for illegals. This is what they've done with the VA too, folks. If you're using the VA, you've noticed your service go, right? Or even if you're waiting on decisions and stuff like that, they don't have the people. And what did the Biden administration do? They took chunks of people away from the VA to go and service illegal aliens. There is something wrong. A country cannot survive. It completely turns its back on the patriots that fought for the country. Everybody needs to see that story you're talking about, Johnny Cat. Everybody needs to see that story. Getting booted so they can make room for illegal aliens. A 90-year-old Korean War vet. Are you freaking kidding me? And when you look back at how terrible, look at the great 60s, the Great Awakening, right? When you see the Vietnam War and how we treated the Vietnam vet, it should make you want to puke. It should make you want to puke, because we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the Vietnam vet. SVD Cleveland. I'm not ex-military, by the way. I recently started preparation for an Air Force. Okay, good for you, man. Good for you. And like I said, if you have any questions and want to talk to us, get a hold of me. If I can, I wasn't in the Air Force, but I can provide some advice if you do have questions from my experience, and I'll shoot you straight. I am really encouraged at young people trying to get into the military today that are patriots, because we need you guys. We need you guys desperately. And that's why, I hear people say, I don't want to go in, and I get all of that. But right now, more than ever, we need you patriots. Johnny Cat, I hear you, but that's what they want. It ain't time for that, right? We need to stick with this path. We need to try to uncover as much of this corruption as possible and take care of it with the rule of law. They want to try to get us in. If we get into a situation like that, it will harm this country in so many ways and weaken this country in so many ways that'll leave us vulnerable to real killers like China. We cannot allow that to happen. I mean, we've been weakened in so many points, but we are still a force to be reckoned with. I can only offer advice about conventional military stuff. Conventional military stuff is probably about as prescient as it is in soft, dude. Conventional military is absolutely. We don't have the 82nd Airborne. We don't have the 101st. We don't have these big combat arms units that don't have the support behind them. We don't have a military. We don't keep our country. There is nothing more powerful than an infantry unit, period. There is nothing more powerful than a U.S. Army or Marines infantry unit. They wreck shit that needs to be wrecked. And if we don't have those killers on standby to defend this country, we are in big, big, big trouble. I was actually wondering if either of you, Chris, were on a dive team. Now, one of our other earlier partners, who's still very good friends of ours, was on a dive team. That was Robert, who was part of the Green Beret life at first, but he's a PA now, and this was just too much for him because he's not local with Chris and I. He's got too much going on. But if you have some questions on that, I can get you answers. Because, like I said, he's still one of my best friends, and he was on a dive team. I think civil war is necessary. Well, some people say we're in a civil war right now, and I would agree. We're not in a kinetic civil war, but we are in a civil war for the heart and soul of this country. It's the good versus the bad, and that's why you're seeing all of this crazy shit. You're seeing this crazy shit. I understand the frustration, and at a base level, boy, you want to be able to do something, but that's what they want, and they want to do it because it'll tear the heart out of our country. Anytime you have Americans fighting Americans, that is bad, bad juju. It's bad, and it weakens us. It'll weaken us in so many different ways. Kathy, at least 8 Navy commanding officers have been fired this year. Lack of confidence, not a lot of detail. Kathy, that's a great point. That is a great point. And I think we are getting small victories, and we have to understand that we've got to appreciate and be grateful for the small victories we're getting. I will say right now that although we've gone through a horrendous few years that's caused damage, I don't know how it's going to all get fixed to our country. I will say, even if you went back 3 years ago or 2 years ago, right? Only a fraction of the people would see what is really going on. Today, the majority of the people that aren't absolutely stupid or sleeping can very clearly see and feel what is going on in this country. And I'm going to say all over the world, right? Everybody can see it. You see our gates welded open at the southern border. You see the complete bastardization of our legal system. You see the destruction to our military and the embarrassment of pulling out of Afghanistan in the way they did, and the complete disrespect shown to those soldiers that were killed from a suicide bomb that we probably could have stopped from allegedly what I've heard, right? And then you see the disrespect from Biden checking his watch as the bodies are arriving in Dover. I mean, everybody can see this. There isn't anybody out there who looks at Joe Biden and has any confidence in his ability to do anything. I don't care what anybody says, Democrat or not. There is nobody that has confidence in this guy, and there's nobody that has confidence in our Congress or our Senate, which is a good thing, because our Congress and our Senate are completely corrupt, with the exception of a handful of people. Absolutely corrupt. And this needs to be pushed through the wash, and this needs to be dealt with, and we need to get back to the rule of law, and we need to start doing things the right way, and we need to start saying, you know what, screw you, China, screw you, company, if you want to build your factory in China, right? You're going to bring that back here, or you're going to be China. How about that? And then you can bring it into our country and sell it at a massive tariff, right? That's where we've got to go. And this is, I started talking about the speech that Trump gave yesterday with the UAW, and what he was talking about is 100% right. He talked about the push for the EVs, and I sort of got distracted on the side saying what they're trying to do. I think everybody that's been here knows my opinion on what I think they're trying to do with EVs. But this whole strike that you're seeing with the 3 automakers, and there's really only 2. Stellantis is not an American company. Chrysler is given away. It's no longer an American company, which is now part of Stellantis, which is Fiat Peugeot, right? So what they're really trying to do with this strike and with the EVs that aren't selling and are ridiculously expensive is to kill the automotive industry as another blow to our economy, to our manufacturing economy. They're trying to kill it. And that's what Trump was trying to make very, very clear, especially with union leadership. He really didn't attack union leadership. He said, you need to think about this. And as union members, you need to understand that they want your jobs gone. They want your jobs over in China. They want this industry to be gone. Everybody's going to say, well, why would they want the industry to be gone? They want the United States as it is to collapse, to get us into this world government. That's truly what they want. If you listen to the WEF talk, this is exactly what they're talking about. This is what the Great Reset is really trying to get to. If you look back even farther and you look at the European Union, that's really what the start of that. Although they were planning it long before that, but that was a big step, right? So that's why they fought so hard with this Brexit thing. And at the end of the day, what did Brexit really do? It didn't do much, right? Because the same people were keeping it from you, even though the people wanted it. You have a ruling class that doesn't represent the people and the people's wishes. And this is what we have here. Right now, every Republican out there is saying, do not capitulate. Do not give Biden his funding. Do not. But what are they doing? Everything they can, because it doesn't matter what the people say. It matters what their billionaire donor class says. This is why the Republican Party will not last. The Democrat Party will not last. They're so desperate in the Democrat Party that they're telling Robert Kennedy Jr. that if you go and compete and you win, we're just going to take your delegates. This is what's going on. Biden talked about his son, who was in the Army. He was a JAG officer. Yeah, that was Bo, who died of cancer, not the same as our boys and girls get KIA due to a suicide bomb. That's exactly right. And he's also come out and said that his son died overseas, right? Bo. And I hate to shit on anybody's service, okay? But you look at a guy, and you've heard me talk about Ron DeSantis, okay? And if you know the history of Ron DeSantis, obviously very, very intelligent dude. Went to Harvard, went to all Ivy League schools for undergrad and law school, right? So a guy like that, who's almost a guaranteed millionaire, as soon as he is a guaranteed millionaire, he gets out. He goes and joins the military as a JAG officer. You wonder, why did he do that? Why did he go and do? He's got everything going for him. Why did he go and join the military? And then he stays in the military for a few years and steps down and then runs for Congress. And he runs for Congress and wins, right? But his first big donor was John Bolton's PAC. Right there, you're going to say, okay, did he join the military in a safe job as a JAG officer, right? Relatively safe. You're going to be a lawyer, right? We need JAG officers, but let's face it, you're not an infantry or an artillery guy or even a supply guy, or you're not any of that. You're a lawyer, right? And then he runs for office with support from John Bolton's PAC, and he wins, right? And you see how he's manipulated his way all the way through. Doesn't stay a congressman very long, enlists Trump's help to become a governor of Florida, runs the Florida like until the end, like Trump would have probably run it. And then he started realizing he needs to collect money to run for president against the guy who gave him a shot. Is this guy? And now that's not going good for him. There was rumors that he was going to go after Senator Scott's seat in Florida. Who is this guy? Who the hell is he? And did he use the military to get his military bona fides, I like to say? You know what I mean? So I look at like Biden's kid, who became, I think, the attorney general for the state of Delaware and stuff like that. Why did these guys? And Beau Biden was in the military too until he got, or Hunter, until he got booted for drugs, right? So tell him, and wonder what else he did, right? Why were they in the military? Do you think Hunter Biden was there to serve his country? Do you think he was there, or was he there? Was he there to build up his military bona fides because he was going to do something else using his dad's name afterwards? And it just makes you wonder who these people are, and it makes you feel real slimy. We've got a real problem with the way politicians are elected in this country. And I think they need to pull money out of politics. We've got to find a way to pull money out of politics. If you're a corporation, you have no say. You should have no frickin' say. As an individual, you should have a say. Okay? Or if you're a corporation, you should have the same say as an individual. You shouldn't be able to use startup PACs and do all sort of machinations to donate millions to a particular candidate, because then you own that candidate. And the candidate that was put there by the people no longer serves the people. He's serving the big dollar donor. We've got to find a way of getting that money out of politics. Yeah, it was in the Navy. You're right. Hunter was in the Navy. But you just see a lot of these guys, and you wonder what were they doing? Hey, thanks for your service, really, but were you there for the right reasons? You know what I mean? Were you there to serve the country, or were you there to serve yourself? Because you realized that having that military bona fides was going to help you get elected to office, right? So yeah, it's one of these things. That's a cynical way of looking at it, the way I'm looking at it, right? Because if you've been in the military, you're probably cynical anyways, right? Especially after you've been through these wars, right? So I don't know, guys. I think there's a lot of things out there that are going good, and I think we need to recognize that. We still need to be grateful and present that we still live in the greatest country on God's green earth. Because let me tell you, Europe is so much farther along down this disaster than we are. Okay, but we also have to understand that it ain't all peaches and cream here, and we need to fix this problem. Okay. Like I said, you don't have to agree with me on Donald Trump, but right now he's our only option of saving this country. And may he be the perfect option? I don't know. I'm a Trump supporter. I've been a Trump supporter from the beginning. Do I have some blind allegiance to him? Maybe, right? But I can also tell you the guy has taken a hell of a lot of incoming, and has not. He's fought more than any other politician I've ever seen. He fights. Okay, perfect individual? No. Am I a perfect individual? No, and nobody out there is a perfect individual, right? But I really think we need to quit fooling around, and we need to fix the Republican Party or destroy it, one or the other, by going third party, right? And we need to save this country, and we need to start being smarter. We need to be using our heads, and we don't fall for what they want us to fall for. Okay. So Hunter was in the Navy Reserves, got kicked out for failing a drug test. And Johnny, me being the cynical person on that, I wonder, did he really get kicked out for failing a drug test? Because of all the corruption you've seen this guy been involved with, don't you think his dad could have fixed that problem? Especially if he was in the reserves, you know what I mean? And I just wonder what he really did. Was that a cover story for what he really did? Did he get caught with selling some classified documentation? To what? You know what I mean? Oh, what better could we say? Failed a drug test. The Americans will forgive him for that, right? I want to see if I just don't know if I get because afterwards I see where there were comments and I miss them, but I'm trying to find them on my phone. I just don't know if this thing refreshes that fast. So if I'm missing your comments, guys, uh, on oh, I see something. What's you flying? Talking good, Matt. Thank you on Rumble. Um, uh, and that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm trying to think if there was something else. I didn't write notes or anything like this. I just wanted to come on and talk about what was going on, have the interaction, and I'm very grateful for SVD Cleveland, What You Flying, and Johnny Cat R58. I'm very very appreciative of your comments. Like I said, I'm not looking for people just to agree with me. I like when people challenge me. I don't want to have groupthink, right? And I think as patriots, we can all have disagreements. And we should be able to work through disagreements and accept each other's disagreements. We should be able to do that in this country, provided we're all patriots. And we are all patriots here. We're all patriots here, right? But be careful, everyone. I predict a lot more mess. That's a good point that you brought that up. They're making another push on gun control. And what do you know it? Wait when they push, every time they start pushing this gun control bullshit, we end up getting mass shootings, and that is true evil. If this is really manipulated by some entity, right? You talk about evil. We need to get to the bottom of this, right? We have an idea of how to solve a lot of these mass shootings. the idea of arming willing teachers and having them be secret would solve this problem real fast, right? Because these mass shooters, the science over years. I was certified by an organization called Alice. This is when I was a cop, and it was interesting because there was a lot of data. A lot of it comes from the FBI. You know what I think of the FBI. But there was a lot of data that looked into mass shootings. That was the basis of all of this. And Alice is a new form of run, fight, hide, fight. Okay, because traditionally, when you have mass shootings, and I'm kind of putting this out there, okay, when you have mass shootings in the past, we've always been told shelter in place, right? That's the worst thing you can do if you look at the data. Sheltering in place is the absolute worst thing you can do, because anybody who's going to go into an area where they know everybody is most likely going to be unarmed, right? They put body armor on, right? They attack children, they attack schools, they attack, churches. Any time you have somebody like that, they're a coward to begin with, and they hate themselves, right? And they always, one of the analogies that was given, if you look at what happened at Virginia Tech, where the individual was lining people up in front of the classroom and then killing them, and then he was having other people go and line up, and they were all complying because they were told to comply, even though they just saw their classmates get shot, right? It was this goofy mentality. And they're saying the mind of the individual that does a crime like this is a weak individual that sees when they're shooting somebody that's cowering, that's fearing for their life, they're killing that weak part of themselves. This is the psycho mumbo jumbo, but there's something to it, because when you take the fight to these guys, almost all the time, they almost immediately give up. Almost immediately give up, right? Or run away, right? And if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, you fight. That's your only option. You fight. You do whatever you can. If you can barricade, if you can get out of there, you get out of there and you help everybody get out. That's the first option. The second option, if you can't get out, you barricade. You make it as hard as possible for that individual to get in there. The third option is, if the individual gets past your barricade, you fight like hell. You collapse this individual with violence of action, whether that means throwing items at them. I used to tell at schools, I would have them say, bring in a can of soup and put it on your desk. That can of soup will stay on your desk all year. Now, if you were to have an incident where somebody were to come in and get past your barricade, all at once, you throw that can of soup at the individual and you tackle them and get the weapon off, right? Okay? If nothing ever happens, which is 99.999% of the time, that can of soup goes into a bag and gets shipped off to a food shelf, right? But you fight. You fight, you fight, you fight. Somebody breaks into your house, you fight like hell, because this is what's going to make you win, okay? And if you can, go get training, get a CCW, carry, and be proficient with that firearm. You don't have to go out and shoot all the time, but you have to shoot on a regular basis so you're proficient. Always keep 1,000 rounds you never touch for a rainy day, and then get out there and practice. So, get CCW, that's right. Get CCW. This is one of the best things you can do, because I truly believe it. Everybody likes to use the old statement by Tojo, the imperialist leader from Japan, who said the reason why we don't attack the mainland of America is behind every blade of grass, there's an individual with a gun who knows how to use it, right? That will always keep America a superpower. We're the only country like this. There are other countries where you can have firearms, but we are the only country where we have a Second Amendment that keeps us safe. This is why the globalist elite are so desperate to rid us of our Second Amendment right in our Constitution. We never, ever, ever give it up. And that's why we go back to what Johnny Cat was talking about. It was a mistake, definitely by Trump. There's no excuse. We should have never given an inch on bump stocks or anything else. Okay? No matter how insignificant that damn bump stock was, right? You don't give an inch on our Second Amendment ever, ever. We fight, and we fight like hell to keep our Second Amendment. And let me tell you, if we don't start winning elections here, they're going to replace our Supreme Court. Okay? So get out there, get a firearm. If you not everybody wants to carry a firearm. Okay? But seriously, take a look at it. Get out there and start shooting with some friends. Shooting, it's hard to tell people that don't shoot. Shooting can be very therapeutic. Okay, once you get past the explosions and the loud noise, it's very, very present. There's 5 fundamentals that you have to concentrate on. Okay, and you have to commit those 5 fundamentals, working seamlessly with one another, but also committed to muscle memory. And if you can do that, there's not time to be worried about all the stress in your day and life. You are present in what you're doing, and it is therapeutic, I promise you. And it is a good skill to have, and it can save your life or your family's or somebody you care about's life someday. Get out there, get a firearm, get good training, practice, follow the law, right? And go and get your CCW. Absolutely. SVD, I think 30 something states are constant. Yes, and there's going to be more and more coming on. Okay. What does that tell you right there? 30 out of 50 states, right? There are more of us than there are of them, folks. I know it's hard to believe that sometimes, okay? Because they control the media, they control big swaths of government, federal and local and state, right? This is a big op on the American people that there's more of them than there are of us. That is not the case. This is why Budweiser or Bud Light fell, because we realized we had the power. When Target pulled their nonsense, they were issued a damn near fatal death blow. And you need to keep it up with these organizations. You need to use them as the lesson and say, when you do this, the lessons we need to teach to Burger King right now and HelloFresh need to be just as severe. And you don't move on it. You don't move on it. Okay? Here's another thing I do want to say. Okay? With everything going on right now, we've stayed on YouTube the whole time tonight. So I'm trying to be very, very careful. Okay? For everything they're trying to do to us right now, what the manipulation of our food, right? These types of things, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Is all of this is causing major health issues. One of the best things you can do and encourage other people to do is get healthy. You don't have to be a workout nut, but do regular exercise. Start watching a little bit of what you eat, right? And keep yourself healthy, okay? Look at some supplements you can take that might protect you from the common cold or the flu or any of these other things coming down the pike, right? Vitamin D is a big one. Everybody should be on vitamin D, right? Zinc is another one, right? Start taking care of yourself because it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And start encouraging people that you care about to take care of themselves, okay? And we need to stand with one another. And when there's another patriot taking incoming, what do? We reinforce that patriot. We stand with that patriot. So that incoming doesn't matter. Doesn't matter anymore. Do not let a patriot stand out there standing up for the right things on their own. Don't do it. Stand with patriots and look at each other. Don't look at each other as left and right, blue and red. Do you care about our country the way it was founded? Do you care about the Constitution? Everything else can be worked out. Everything else can be worked out, and there's room for all sorts of ideas and disagreements. Don't get wrapped around this bullshit, which none of you guys do. But we need to encourage other people and educate other people, because there's a lot of normies out there who are technically on our side, but haven't been paying attention because they've been busy with life. You shouldn't have to follow politics this closely, but we do. We have to now because we're in the fight to save our country, right? So with that, I appreciate every single last one of you for joining here tonight and taking part in the conversation. If I miss some of you guys on Rumble and Odysee, I apologize. I do this every time. It's just, it's very with with the lack of bandwidth I have up here. It's difficult for me to get everything perfect with this. We only had a few hiccups tonight, I think, but I want to thank every one of you. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to get back, but I try to get back to everybody that contacts me. Okay. I'm not saying I have all the answers that you need, but I'll give you what I have, and I'll try to find, if I can, the right answer to help you. Okay. Yes, Johnny Cat, get involved in politics before politics gets involved in your life without your consent. I bring Randall on here every once in a while. You guys have probably seen him. We talk about gun stuff. Randall's running for school board. Uh, Politics is local, folks, right? So get out there. That is an excellent point, Johnny Cat. Run for if you have the time and the inclination, run for politics. School board is a great place to start. City council is another place to go, because believe me, there's some pushback that is needed. Okay, stand up, because believe me, you've got a whole crew of patriots out there who think just like you and want somebody to help stand behind another patriot, right? So get involved. Get involved. We're the type of people like us like to be left alone, right? We want to live our life. We want to let everybody live their life. We want to be left alone. Okay. But now we're not being left alone. And now, even though we're letting everybody else do what they want to do, their lifestyle's being pushed on us, right? Which that's not right. Okay, your rights only go so far until where they start impinging on somebody else's rights, right? So we have to get involved, because they've taken control of every, every level of government, public service, any of this stuff. They are injecting themselves into our life in any possible way they can. So get involved. That's an excellent point, Johnny Cat. And with that, I want to let you guys know, live in freedom every day. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back here. Chris will probably be with me next Thursday. I am going to be traveling back down south at some stage here. So there might be, check our Telegram page if you're wondering if we're going to be on that night, because sometimes decisions have to be made and we're not on. And I don't want people just to show up and must not be there. So we try to put it out. But sometimes I don't think we can put anything out on Rumble ahead of time. I think we can do something on YouTube. But check our Telegram. We're at the Green Beret Life on Telegram. Check that. We always put it up whether we're going to be on or whether we're not going to be on, but we should be on here next Thursday, and Chris should be back. Live in freedom every day, and I look forward to this next week. Hey, take care.